Let me start the screen. So now you should see the screen of my computer. Okay, so my name is Peter Turk from Mosaic Education. Our company was established 30 years ago as a textbook publisher here in Hungary. We became the major textbook publisher in the Hungarian market, and in the last 12 years, we are working on to developing our own digital solution to satisfy the needs coming from the ground, coming from the teachers and the students. We have more than 200 employees, and more than half of them is working daily to improving and developing the digital platform, containing many things from softwares to content such as 3Ds videos or complete lesson plans. The application of ours working in more than 32 languages. The full user interface is available in French, including the 3Ds, narration of the 3Ds, and later you will see many other things. We are represented in more than 40 countries through our partner network, and we supplying our products in different scales, from single school, complete systems for publishers and governments. Basically, the main driving aim is to providing the access for the content in an easily understandable way for the teachers. One of the solutions for that is integrating the local existing textbooks into the platform. So let's imagine you are in an ordinary classroom and you already have your local textbook in your hand. We are bringing that textbooks into the digital space and enriching them with existing materials from our very wide library. So when a teacher is speaking about a certain topic, the application can help the teacher to extend the visualizing material, its 3Ds, applications, and others. So when the teacher is speaking about the human body, especially this example page is about human hearing, the teacher can utilize a 3D animation which will help him or her to explain the content for the student. We can switch easily to different language, let's say French. So now I see the labels in French, the different explanatory material. So in first place, this content is used by the teacher to make their explanations, to make their lessons. But secondly, this content is also available for the student outside of the class accessing the digital material online. Like the student would be able to take the material from the school to home. Using these materials, the process of understanding can be faster and shorter because the teacher needs less explanation, because students can see how these things works. In these days, when digital education became very much important because of the close downs of the coronavirus, the teachers can hold online lessons in a very simulated environment that we're using now, when they're using any kind of chat applications to share the screen and transmit audio. It can be Zoom, Microsoft Teams, Google Hangouts, Google Meet. So there is various options just to simply transmit. But the main question is, what should be the educational material they're showing on the screen? And this is what in Mosaic Education can provide a helping hand. So the 3Ds in first place is for making the students understand the topic. But education is not only about then speaking and speaking. We also have to make some assessment exercises. So with a single click, the application provides an option to generate exercises out of the 3D content with a single click. So it captures the screen exactly with the angle and viewpoint which the teacher selected, and those exercises is automatically transmitted to the exercise tool application. The second thing inside the tool are various applications helping the teacher to making their lessons understandable for the students. In this example, the teacher can easily show how the number line works, how the different numbers are represented to each other. First, it seems a very simple thing, and of course it is, but the idea which it brings, this will be very important later on in the presentation. The teacher has some activity which they want to show. They either can start from an empty page and start drawing the number line, like in any drawing application. But when the teacher has access to a dedicated application like number line, the process and the visual quality can be significantly improved. So when the teacher wants to make an explanation for the students, what does it mean adding 2 to 0 or adding 2 to 5, or speaking about the ranges, or speaking about the different operations with the ranges like unions or intersection. Every drawing which the teacher created can be exported here. So technically, there is a lot of integration between the various applications inside the application suite, of which the teacher doesn't have to care about the technical details. So if the teacher simply opens up the application, it can also help him or her to generate exercises. So in this, I just simply select the type of exercise. The application is running in French, so it gives me the instructions in French. What is the number if I'm starting from -23 and I'm adding 29? In this example, the application randomly generates new and new exercises and shows me the correct answer, allowing both individual education, so when I'm at home and learning my own, or education inside the class when the teacher instructing the lesson. Now let's go back to the textbook, as everything which I created or selected can be saved in the form of an icon. So when I'm saving an icon, I can add the new digital extra material to the book in the form of an icon. Whenever I click on it, it loads the content back in exactly the same form. This gives you the opportunity to select the best teachers in a central location, asking them to creating these exercises aligned with the textbooks which they're using in the classroom. And then through the icons, basically you can transmitting their knowledge to the rural areas. Application itself, because it's a Windows app directly running on the computer, can go completely offline. The application is able to deploy on a per book level the content into the local computer. So in my laptop, this book is installed. If I unplug the internet and I take the laptop to a rural place, I also can hold the same lesson because the content is available on my computer. So the system itself is robust in order to provide a versatile usage. When you are in one of the European capitals, when internet connection in every corner is very high speed, you can go completely online and everything comes from the cloud. But when you are in a rural area, in a village school, when there is no internet at all, the system still able to provide you the lessons because it can be preloaded into the computer. The system itself has two major components. One of them is Mozabook, which is concentrating on the needs of the teacher. So this is a teacher application. This is exactly the same which I'm showing you during my presentation. So this Mozabook is the teacher tool. On the other hand, there is Moza Web, which is a student application running purely in a web portal. So the students simply open up the Google Chrome or any browser they prefer, and then they simply navigate themselves to mozaweb.com. In mozaweb.com, they see a student portal in which they can check the various activities. So inside Mozaweb, they can simply open up, first of all, they can log in, then they will be navigated to their dashboard. So each user has an overview about which books they have access to, which exercise books they have access to, whether they have homeworks, as well as the system natively supporting sending out homeworks. And I also can upload content. For example, if my task was to recording some video at my home or taking pictures, I simply can upload into my Moza web storage and being shared with the teacher. If I have an application like different simulations, let's say going into physics, I also can run in my browser in my home, and then I can work with these simulations and I can start to exploring the scientific topic on my own. So let's imagine if you're holding a physics lesson and you want to speak about electronics, it really helps the understanding if you can make experiments. In digital, you can do with our system. So I can just simply plug and play different activities, and I can start to exploring if I change the various parameters, or if I change the potential of the battery too much, I even can heal the devices. But whenever I'm decreasing the potential, the system goes back to working again. But if I do the same in the teacher solution in Mozabook, let me switch back to that application. So I open up the same application from my toolset, ElectroKit. Inside ElectroKit, I can simply start drawing my own circuit in order to make my own presentation. So let's plug in a motor. Let's include a current meter. Let's put the battery. Let's put some light bulbs, and let's start measuring the voltage dropping of the light bulbs and increase the potential of the battery. So I also can see directly the relation between the potential and the speed of the motor, or the potential and the brightness of the lights. This gives me an instant feedback in the process of understanding, because understanding is not simply memorizing facts. We have to go through on processes. We have to understand relations between different quantities. But education, as I previously mentioned, it's not simply about just holding a lesson or telling things to the students. I also have to concentrate on to giving them exercises from which I can have the feedback how these things understood by the students. So simply going into the exercise tool, by clicking a single button, the application generates me an exercise. By clicking the button multiple times, it helps me to generate random exercises. For example, how much voltage is measured on this measuring device. So it's also leverage the pressure on the teacher to taking their time to compose the exercises. If you see in this example, education is more driven by the goal rather than driven by the number of tasks or number of hours teacher taking of struggling with IT. So in this example, the teacher simply told the application, what's the topic which we're learning, what kind of circuits I'm explaining now in my presentation. And by clicking a single button, this circuit automatically generated and exported into the exercise tool with an image and exact values, asking for certain objects in my circuit. So in this one, it's asking what's the voltage dropping in the motor if these are the given values of the different equipment. Students can simply solve by clicking and evaluating the answers. If the student would make a bad answer, the system tells me it's incorrect, but students also can ask for what are the right answers. Everything which I created inside the exercise sheet, which not only can be generated exercises, because I have a total freedom of creating more than 13 types of exercises on my own. So as a teacher, creating an exercise, it's a very easy and straightforward. I choose from the 13 types of exercise. Let's say I want to do matching pairs. Then the application offers me various design layouts, and I just simply select I want to matching pairs images to text labels. Whenever I clicking on a media element, the application offers me to search. For example, searching images over the internet, which I think it's plugged. Let's see Moza Web Library. And then I can simply ask for various content. For example, let's see this one. And let's make the labels. One of the label I will make Paris, and another one I will call Budapest. Let's put some other, let's put Louvre. And let's look for a couple of images from Budapest, one of our bridge, and let's say one of our big concert hall. I just tell the system simply by simply making these connections, what are the right answers, and I click save. So now I immediately created an exercise which already is randomized whenever it's loading. It's evaluated by the application, and I didn't have to be a programmer for it. So we are providing as Mosaic ready-made content, but also we're providing tools and assets to creating exercises in order to allow the individual teacher without a high level of technical skills to create the exercises by themselves, aligned with their own exercise or with their own educational view. So in the background, I'm going back to the textbook, and I can attach everything directly to the pages of the textbook. So whenever I created a content like this, in which I have 5 different exercises in one exercise sheet, I can simply pin through the button into the book. So now this exercise sheet became part of the book. By becoming part of the book, it gets into the right location inside the curriculum. Because every country has a different curriculum, but the local existing textbooks are aligned with this curriculum. So whenever we take the existing textbooks of the country in a PDF, which everybody has because PDF is the de facto standard for printing, our system is able to process directly those PDFs in a system called Mozabook Editor. Then the content from our library or any kind of third-party content, whenever the country has video assets or any animations from previous projects, everything they have in digital, they can bring and they can mail down in one location inside our system. The system simply creates 3 main outputs. One of the classroom software, which you see on my screen, and it's also a web and tablet edition. So the platform is covering all the technical challenges which is needed to transforming the existing educational process into digital. So basically, we can create a bridge between traditional educational materials and the 21st century. But keeping in mind the know-how, what Mosaic Education can bring into these projects, how teachers should be handled as human beings rather than just numbers on a big table. Because the success of our educational system is really relying on the progress of the teachers. If we provide the teachers good materials, then teachers can work faster and more efficiently. So teachers already familiar with the resources which they have. So they're already familiar how the textbooks looks like. If we can match the digital material to the pages of the textbooks, we can make the first step to bringing the teachers on board. So let's imagine I have a page like this one, and I want to show some 3Ds about volcanoes. So I simply go into the library, I search for volcano, and I just drag and drop to the page. Basically, that means enriching a book. So I have to go into the application, looking for the right content, and then just drop on the page. And all these information can be synchronized back to the cloud and being provided for the other users. So when my student going home and wanting to access this content on his own computer, they simply open up the browser, they go into the bookshelf, and they can open up the same book as we have used in the lesson. So inside the browser, the students get an instant access for the digital, which means can access the digital edition of the book, and directly inside the book, when they click on an icon, this opens up and they can start to experiencing with the content. Whenever they have an Android smartphone, tablet, or iPhone or iPad, these applications working on that in a native mode. So we have Mozabook for Android, in which the students can open up. For example, in Iraq, they're using our platform to transmitting content for the students in schools. And students can download inside the school the content to the tablet, and they're even able to run offline from the tablet on Android, including the 3Ds. Whenever they see a content, they also can rotate, they can watch different pre-built animations, or they even can listen for an animation. Then I can switch the language. This is a very new one. But let me go back to the teacher tool, and let's go back to the original topic which I wanted to follow with you. So whenever the teacher is trying to explain a certain topic, the 3Ds can help the teacher in the process of making the students understand, and it can go to a more deeper understanding when they can see how it works. So when the teacher showed the 3D of the human hearing and they go to the animation,
Peter, we cannot hear the animation.
You don't hear?
No, I don't know why.
Because Zoom okay, the issue is that Zoom is not transmitting the audio of my computer. But later, when you're accessing by yourself, you also can listen, and this audio is speaking in the language. So it's speaking in French by a native speaker. So it's not computer synthesized audio. This is a human person recorded audio. And this is the second thing of various combinations can come in mind, that 3Ds can be listened in French. But if you're learning English as a second language, you can go to bilingual mode, and whenever you see a label, you can switch between the two languages. So the primary option is to learning the scientific topic, but there's also a secondary use that you also can use all of these content as a language material as well to learning languages. So bringing the digital possibilities into the classrooms can help the teacher to utilize a bigger pool of resources. And basically, this is the main benefit of digitalization. If you just think on mobile phones, how it changed your life, that you can reach information instantly, whether your family is living in a different city. All these benefits we have to bring and translate into the K-12 education, how the educational system can utilize all these materials. But what Mosaic is offering is not simply the platform, it's not simply a huge content library, but also the know-how, how we can bring all these into real life using the existing teachers. Because if teachers would be similar to computers, that you can order new teachers from AliExpress, it would be a much different story. But we have to build on the existing knowledge, existing habits of the existing teachers. And this is what we have experience in as we started deploying our solution in Hungary more than 10 years ago. So there is teachers in Hungary who are using this platform for more than 10 years. This also gives us a first-hand experience as we're introducing our software in many other countries, like in Croatia, where now thousands of schools, thousands of teachers accessing, Croatia is a quite small country, thousands of teachers accessing Mozabook application to teach their lessons, and major publishers already align the books in our system. It also gives you different other opportunities, whether it's a frontal teaching, like in a normal school, during normal life, or whether if you're using for distance teaching in special circumstances like this coronavirus now. So in this example, it also can bring possibilities which for financial reasons this was not available. Let's imagine you're teaching optics in physics. Not all the schools can afford a full features optical kit with laser and set of lenses. But now, using simply digital, even using a single simple projector in a rural area, the teacher can give a much better experience for the students, creating dynamic simulations of how different lenses reacting and how different lenses is used in case of optics. So by this way, you can improve the quality of the education which these places is able to access. And here it comes the human part, because you have a rural area who is lack of certain physical instructional devices. But in some cases, you also lack of teachers. So in sometimes, physics have to be taught by a teacher who is not dedicated to physics, but there is a lack of teachers. So now you can create all these lesson plans in a central location with an expert team locally in your country and inserting these materials directly into the books. So now my professional teacher created that in this specific part of the book. Let's go back to some portion in which the book is teaching about different lenses. Okay, so it's teaching about transmission of light. So now I can simply pin this content in a form of a small icon into my book. So whenever the other teacher is coming into this page, starting to describe this lesson and click the button, in that case, they directly accessing a fully prepared simulation, even if this specific teacher is not able to compose it. So you can shorten the time between learning everything how to use and experiencing the benefits. So it's enough to well prepare a small portion of teachers to being able to create the content directly aligned with the curriculum, directly aligned with the language you use, and aligned with the way of teaching. By inserting everything into the right location in the book, also the unexperienced teachers with a very short amount of training can experience the benefits of these digital materials because they can simply open up which is available already inside the book in the correct location. They can use the rich library of 3Ds, which we have more than 1,200. So let's imagine how much cost would be to fulfill all the classes with biological plastic sculptures, having skeleton in the classrooms, having a cutaway heard, hearing, and so forth. Using a single projector and the Mozabook application, you directly have an access to more than 1,200 3D simulations, which can cover the human body, the most basic biological things, or you can even go into dive historical places. Whenever you learn about the ancient Egypt, or when you're learning about the Aztecs in South America, or you're learning about the Giza pyramids, you can go and show them in 3D. And many of the 3Ds, not simply having narrated animations, but you also can walk inside. If you go to the ancient Acropolis, or if you go into these 13th century Viking wooden temple, you can simply go inside literally, so you can actually go inside to this wooden temple and look around. So this gives a different level of experience for the students. Of course, on the second side, we also can speak about the learning experience, that students now getting many inputs from movies, from PlayStation, Xbox, And they're asking, oh, education is only about this black and white paper? No, education also can be 21st century, not simply by the wide range of content, but also on the visual experience. So we can bring them education, attracting them. Because education is not only about how quality you can give towards the knowledge, but it's also about how you can engage the students, how you can ask the students to sit down and actually take the time on education. And this also comes into the second section of gamification. So let's imagine you are in lower grades and you want to make your students practicing, because it's a fact that if you're practicing adding and subtracting numbers, your skills will be better. And we can gamifying it. We can simply ask the application, okay, generates me a field, and I can here have to go from 12 to 14, I have to add 2. From 14 to reach 8, I have to subtract 6. But whenever I make a mistake, I have to start over. It shows me a progress gauge, it shows me my points and time. And simply the students competing with each other, having fun, their skills are improved. And that's a very important thing inside the educational process. So I can go with the bunny, and I can go next, next. I have to subtract 4, I have to subtract 8. But again, whenever I make a mistake, the shark comes, and I will become the dinner for tonight for the shark. So gamification is also very important in the progress of education. We also have a lot of different single player and multiplayer games as well in order to push certain skills or knowledge. We also have tools which first seems very simple and childish, like scale. This is I would say this is my third favorite. In this one, you can show them a very basic thing. What does it mean measuring something? But through many steps, this app will make you understand what does it mean an equation. So in the beginning, you can just simply think, okay, if I see an equation like 2z plus 2b is how much? At first, the students couldn't really get what is z and what is b. And you can, oh, this is something, but they don't really get what is something. You can go back to the roots and start over simply. Look, when you go to the groceries and you buy some banana, orange, or apples, they are measuring this on the scale. What they doing? They're figuring out the value of the different objects. Then you can go into different topics, for example, measuring boxes. A box is an amount which you don't know the weight. And step by step, of course, you can go through on dividables, but then you can reach the final goal to measuring a B or measuring an A. It's basically the same. I have to figure out the value. And of course, if I go back just about this tool, I would be able to speak to you about an hour, but definitely we don't that amount of time now. But basically, it gives you lots of opportunities in which the teacher can enrich the learning experience for the student. So the application itself is not teaching the kid, but giving a huge amount of resources for the teacher to improve the lesson which the teacher can hold. And if you have the book, for example, lower grade maths, second grade, when you start thinking about unknown values, then you create a setup in the tool, simply pin it into the book in a form of an icon, and whenever you click it, the application shows exactly the same. So you can prepare the content for the user, whether it's a fellow teacher, whether it's the student accessing the book in the cloud, you can prepare from which starting point they have to start. So they're not starting from scratch. They're not starting to exploring the content by themselves like a small kid lost in the forest. You can guide them. And this is very important, especially in the beginning of the project, when you can simply boost the user experience by providing this easy access. And we have plenty others. From these small tools, we have more than 85, and the number is counting. We have another 20 games for gamification. We have more than 1,002 3D animations in the library, 700 videos. So there is a lot of existing content, and there is a lot of opportunity when you can create the content directly aligned for your curriculum. And of course, teachers can create their own presentations. I have a very similar look and feel than a physical dry erase board, but I have a pencil case which I can draw with. I have various mathematical drawing tools like a ruler, or I can simply start, let's say, making equal size triangles. So I just hook up a compass, I'm choosing a red pencil, making 2 circles, asking another ruler, checking a blue pencil, and I need a shorter ruler. So I can simply utilize all these digital virtual tools to do something similar I could do with a bunch of physical tools. But if you're now thinking about the current situation, the distance education goes into a very big importance, then these type of tools can really shorten the path needed from now to reach the tomorrow. It also can be used to pre-record lessons. Some of the TV channels are using our application. In Ukraine, in Iraq, the local educational national TVs who are running programs on actual classes, they're using Mozabook application to create those lessons, to using as a presentation tool. You also can consider Mozabook as a kind of PowerPoint designed for education on steroids, because it has a lot of integrated content. It has the concept of understanding what the teacher thinks. And everything I created, I can simply push up to the cloud. I can share with my school, and my students can simply have an access on the browser. Or whenever I created an exercise, I can simply go to homeworking, and I push this as a homework to my students. And of course, a lot more, but I think this is the time to ask you for any questions before I proceed. I can speak about these days, but first, let's see whether we are on the same ground regarding the basics.
Thank you, Peter, for this part of the presentation. Do we have any questions so far? Roland, could you ask your French colleagues if they have any questions?
Oh, it's clear. It's clear for me. I think I have no question for the moment.
Monsieur Traoré. Sommet. Madame Bokoum, Madame Nana. On demande s'il y a des questions.
Any questions?
Allô?
So far?
Monsieur Adamas.
Non, pour le moment, je n'ai pas de questions.
Ah, ok. Monsieur Adama, on vous entend pas.
Vous m'entendez, moi? C'est Madame Bocon. Je vous entends et je trouve que les explications sont vraiment très claires. Hein? Je n'ai pas vraiment de questions. C'est juste que, voilà, comme on en a parlé hier, voir comment on va adapter ce système-là à chaque pays, parce que chaque pays a ses propres spécificités, en fait. Juste ça.
Ok. Merci beaucoup. Monsieur Adama?
Excusez-moi, oui?
Non, non, je dis merci beaucoup. Comme ça, on va voir Monsieur Adama, quelle est sa proposition.
D'accord, d'accord.
Roland, would you like to translate so that Peter can answer the question?
Yeah, I want to translate after. I want to know if Adama is talking. It's Adama talking, but we can hear him.
Oh, pardon me?
Monsieur Adam. Monsieur Adama? He's still talking. He's still speaking, Adam.
Okay. Can you translate for us?
Nothing, because I can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah, he's still talking, but I don't know.
Okay. 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 Any other questions? So that maybe Peter can proceed with the presentation.
But I want to translate for Madame Boku. Madame Boku said everything is very clear. Adama?
Okay. Okay. Ask if she can. I think Mrs. Nana is trying to talk.
Miss Nana? Miss Nana
Oui.
says today she she doesn't have a script, and she prepared to do something for her, sending the message on WhatsApp. Just listening now, and she will make some briefing for us, maybe later. That's what she said.
Okay. Okay. Very good. Any other questions? So that Peter can proceed. And maybe we need. Okay, Peter. Then go ahead and proceed.
But Adam is still talking. I don't know. I will tell him to giving the question after, because she going back. The connection is not very stable.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, since we're recording the presentation,
Yeah.
maybe later, she can review it, and then we can answer her directly whatever questions she had, and also give the questions to the whole group, and then answer to
Yeah,
the whole
of
group
course.
if you want.
I will talk with them, and after I will sending the message to you guys. I will talk
Okay,
with
very good.
after, and Some, Miss Nana, is Miss Bokum, and Awi, because I saw Awi inside, but he
Yes,
left.
yes. I see that he was in. Okay. Peter, if you want, you can continue, please.
Okay,
Yes.
so basically, we have had an overview of the Moza book teaching tool. This is for the teachers to hold their lessons. On the other side, there is Moza Web, which is a web portal for the students to accessing the content. This can go in any major browsers. This also gives you a direct access for the digital textbooks, for the complete media library, including the 3D animations, different tools, experiments. Next to that, we also have a tablet application, which is a native Android and iOS application, providing both online and offline access for the digital materials and providing access for the solving homeworks. Next to that, the third product, we also have a school administration platform, which application is about general administrative tasks, which means online gradebook, managing of absence of the students, even goes to communication with the parents with the built-in messaging system. All these systems are able to work with each other closely, how they are able to work independently as well. So in the first phase, it's also possible to only deploy Mozabook for the teachers, then after deploying Mozambique for the students, or you can go together in the same time and leaving out Mozalog. So the system itself is flexible in order to provide the user experience required for the local resources. You also can see another code, it's web editor. Basically, this is a platform which is for creating the digital editions of the local textbooks. It's very important that the local textbooks can be imported, because every country already having a set of textbooks which are aligned with the local curriculum. And we give you the tool to turning those textbooks into digital, and we providing digital access for the students. After that, we also have some side products like digital atlases, higher grade 3D and 2D mathematical applications. But what is very important is training programs. So we also have a detailed training program for partner countries, having in a multi-level training plan, that when Mosaic people is training a core team of the local country, then that core team can give through different number of levels, depending on the size of the country, to the actual teachers. However, an average teacher in the end, who will be only the end user of the system, can start using the application with a very minimal training amount. So even a couple of hours, let's say 5-hour training to teach the teacher how to use the computer itself to open up Mozabook, accessing the digital book, and start using the application directly inside the environment. Then there are also technical things like certification of the teachers, acquiring servers for the country, and setting up local support as well. The application itself, of course, it needs servers. We have an international data centers in all the major locations. However, we're suggesting to set up servers directly in the country. So this gives a more freedom for the country, either from data protection, that all the data is located inside the country, but it also gives a much faster and lower latency access domestically, that users can access the content inside the country. And of course, there is many other things. If we would go more directly about our educational view, as Mosaic Education, not simply a technological company, it's coming with a background of more than 30 years of educational development, being a textbook publisher, but we also have an expertise teams available for consultancy on general educational questions. So not only in digital, but we also have expertise in curriculum development, assessment composing, and how to measure, how to create national measures of students' understanding, and through the students' progress, how we can measure the progress of the teacher. So successful digital education has many, many aspects, have to be in sync in order to serve. And if any of these main aspects, like textbooks, the teachers, the digital learning system, or school information systems, not relying on a stable curriculum, makes the whole education system prone to fail or prone to risk. And basically, the way how we think about digitalization is coming directly from our experience working with the teachers. So building on something which the teacher already know, I usually like to use the following picture. One of my, when I taken my daughter to the kindergarten, they told I have to bring some sleeping toy from home. You know, some small animal in which my daughter sleeping at home during the night. This gives her the safeness. So basically, when she goes into the kindergarten to a new environment and having to sleep in a place which is foreign for her, she always holding the sleeping toy, giving them the peace of mind about home and secure. And if you go the analog, What is the sleeping toy for the teacher, for which they can go every time back, is the textbook. So when the teacher goes into a totally new environment, in a digital learning environment, when everything is new, then they can go back to the safeness of the textbook. And when we have the textbooks on the screen, teacher is more relaxed because they already know that there is a stable navigation point in the forest of digital content by going back to the pages of the book. And if the content is aligned with the pages of the book, the teacher, the existing knowledge, can navigate much easier in the digital library. So when you're providing a digital system, when you have different filterings and the big library that teacher have to find, most of the average teachers will get lost. But when we have the proper way, how we have to make the teacher understand about the progress, about the digitalization and about the benefits, then the project could become successful. And that's also one of our expertise, which we gained in the last 30 years. And because we're coming from a publishing side rather than a purely digital company, it means that we're not finding an artificial way how we can implement a certain technology into the classroom, but it's reversed. We are finding which is the right technology to fulfill the real requirements coming from the teachers in order to be successful in the digital life. So rather than forcing the teacher to learning and understanding the language of the computer, we're forcing the computer to understanding the language of the teacher. So basically, how we can adapt the platform to the country is to getting the local existing books of the country, going by an expert team locally, so local people can work on making these alignment, going to the library, finding the relevant content and drag and drop into the page. So by the content is aligned with the local textbooks, it's immediately aligned with the local curriculum as well. Using the tools like exercises, the local team can compose exercises matching not simply the local curriculum, but matching exactly the way how this textbook is teaching the topic. It also gives a much better mapping for both the teacher and the students to process the content if it's properly aligned and synchronized with each other.
Hello?
Hello.
Peter?
Hello.
I thought somebody started speaking, but I couldn't really hear.
Okay. Okay, go ahead.
So basically, if the books are enriched, and either if the country has any third-party content from a previous project, so whether they invested to having animations, recorded videos, having different type of digital assets, for example, HTML5, they can simply bring into the platform and this becomes part of the book. And through the book, the information is transmitted to all the participants, whether it's a student, whether it's a teacher, whether they're using a browser, whether they're using a native app, the content reaches them through the books. Of course, it's possible to create presentations or lesson plans. And all these materials can be linked with each other. So I simply can paperclip, I can link my presentation to a certain page of the book. So I can insert direct hyperlinks between the publications, even if I don't have these presentation open. When I reach the book, click a button, and that specific presentation is loaded and it opens on that specific page where it's linked. So the content which is required to hold a lesson can be finely prepared up to the latest details in order to help the teacher on the other end, in a rural area, in a village school, to hold a better lesson by encapsulating all the knowledge from a central location. And this is one of the big aspects which technology can help, making equal chances for different geographical areas inside the country. And this is not only true for Africa, you also can think about big Central Asian countries, where distance and the difference between rural and city education can be a huge difference as well. So basically implementing a system like this can help both the teachers and the students. And when we go into more details and the whole platform is used by the participants, when it's used in a national level, we also can go down in more detail statistics, for example, if it's used together with the administrative platform to see which schools how actively using, which regions how actively using. So we can provide a lot of detailed statistics about usage as well, which can help the owner of the schools to check on their assets. So you also can see the performance of the physical equipments deployed to schools, how often they are used, which are the regions where it's very active, so probably they would require more devices, and see which are the regions which is less active and probably they need more training or they need some supervision in order somebody goes there and help them to start the process. Basically, that's all what I want to tell in a nutshell, in a very short and very condensed way about the main concept. And depending on the feedbacks, I can go into more details on a certain topic, or if you have any questions, or if you will have any questions later on, as discussed with Roland, please send to him and he will pass through to us and we will give you the required answers.
Ricardo?
Yes.
Yeah, we have Adama's question. I will make everything together and to send it to you and to Peter too.
Okay.
Just
okay.
questions for Adam. Just sending in French, but if you can, Peter can answer, no problem. But also I can put in all questions.
Okay, very good. Peter, can you show how this works? This is a very interesting thing that the system have.
Yes, this is also a good example which we call the time machine. And this also gives you a good impression about how standard things like a database can be reimagined and bring close to teachers. So in multidisciplinary education, but especially in history, it comes through who were the famous people in the history. So in this tool, we have more than 2,000 famous people combined, having information about what was their main achievements, what was the time scale when they was living. But when I'm wanting to search in this database, I can use a very intuitive tool. So I just selected Mozart as my navigation point. So he will be the 0 point for this search. I open up the navigation bar in which I have 4 properties: time, famousness, profession, and nationality. If I'm interested in the 18th century Austrian people, I simply can move my navigation bubble close to those 2 properties. This will give me emperors, scientists, music people. But if I'm especially interested in composers who were also famous, then it gives me a different pool of people, like Beethoven, but also Gershwin, even if it's a different time scale, because I selected time is less important for this search. The most important to be important people and to be composers. And based on the search, I can use the content. So as I mentioned, integration, it's a big achievement of IT. So whenever I see an image, I can simply drag and drop to my presentation. I don't have to think about that. Of course, I also can make a screenshot, how I can save the image. No, it's the task of the software. If I see an image, if I see a text, I drag and drop. If I need it here, I place it here. And then I go further and I simply ask to generate an exercise, because the knowledge is inside the tool. The tool knows about what was the profession, what was the main achievement of each person. So I just select the type of the exercise, the target of the exercise. So the set of people who the exercise will ask for is selected by my search. So I defined Mozart as a navigation point. I told I need composers all over the time scale. So the application selected me the people closest to Mozart based on this criteria. I click the type of exercise, click start. So it automatically gives one by one people from this pool. And it's asking, and of course it's in French, as I mentioned, we have more than 32 languages. So if we imagine the amount of content which is available in these languages, that's huge. So our project is quite big. So now it's asking who was the guy, Yehudi Menuhin, and I have to choose from these. Whenever I click an option, it's automatically evaluates. So I can directly solve the exercise here as an activity. But with the single click, you see exercise export. If I click it, the application, so the application of the time machine will go and communicate with the application of the test tool. And it's passing all the data from one app to another, in which I can go and I can modify the text. So I have both fruits. I have the comfort of predefined generated applications, generated exercises, depending on the topic which I selected as a teacher. But on the other hand, I also have the total freedom of making exactly my own exercises on my own taste with my own configuration. I can combine both benefits to have my best user experience. Because in those systems, when you can create your own exercises, but you have to start everything from scratch, that is much more a challenge to compose and find images and insert it. But I can choose whether I want a pre-generated exercise, generate with the single click, everything is transmitted to the app, but still I can go and I can change the text, I can change the different options, I can change the different answers. And everything I can save back to my presentation. So everything which I see, I get, or I create, I can put into my presentation. Everything can be saved, everything can be composed inside. And there is plenty other tools like Nature. So it's not only for history. And that's also one of the benefits, having a single point of application for all subjects, which means that from governmental side, it's a less support requirement, not having a STEM application, having an art application, having an application for music teaching. No, there is a one-point solution for all subjects and all grades. But still, the application is adaptive. So kindergarten, using bit different tools, using much different applications, they can use much simplified user interface, hiding all the menus, just only having the presentation. So the application is really versatile to adapt itself to the circumstances where it's actually used. But in the other side, it's using the same application for all subjects. So even a physics teacher can successfully help a geography teacher how to hold a digital presentation, because both of them using the same principles, both of them using the same application and same features, but they're accessing a different content. So this also can improve the performance of both the usage and the introduction of the solution into bringing digitalization into action in the shortest period as possible. So in the Nature tool, I can go to different fruits and animals. I can read their descriptions. I can see their categorization. I can see different images. Then I can drag and drop these images. So when the teachers get used to these general gestures that I can drag and drop out things, what I can drag in things. For example, I open up the tool, let's open up a new image gallery, and I just simply pushing a couple of images into the image gallery, and then I can save these image gallery as an icon, I can place into my presentation, and so forth. Or with this nature library tool, I can simply go to generating exercises. I can name which type of exercise should be generated, which type of information it should ask for, and done, and I done. I just go to export these exercises to the exercise editor. So all these things are to expand the possibilities which the teacher can have using digital education. And of course, there is plenty other options. When I go to language teaching, I can have a word finder. The word finder also can be used into certain subjects. Let's say here in the basic, I just simply have words. It's running in French, so it's showing French words. For example, piston. Okay. But then I can go to my own exercises. So if I'm teaching literature and I'm teaching about different persons or teaching about different writers, I can put their names into the word problem, into the crosswords, and then these will be the words which it's asked for. Then I can go into a more complicated option, having sentences, and inside the sentence, a certain word is missing. So it gives you the impression that the students have to think on two things. Having the sentence and one of the word is missing, and you have to find that word in the crosswords, which is missing. And those type of exercises the user can create individually as well. By simply filling out the table of possible words and sentences, the application automatically can generate those crosswords or those word finder tables. And again, that also can be saved. But this also can be different options like having one letter and simply giving coordinates. So education has many aspects. You have to improve the lexical knowledge, but you also have to improve the skills, the problem solving, and there is different tools and then different sub-options to react on certain student needs. There is also other applications which can be either used in music lesson or physical education, in which you can compose different rhythms and you can switch on and off the different rhythm channels, like in a multi-channel mixer, and asking certain groups of the students to join, clapping their hands, clapping on a drum, and so forth. Or another example about staged education. So on what I mean. You're teaching the students about music score, a music score which looks like this. But in the beginning, when students cannot really understand these bars, you can start with a very easy concept, having little birds. So having little birds and putting them on the music score, I can describe to the students these birds are more distance from each other, it will be slower. If the new birds are up, they will be higher pitch noise. If they're down, they will lower pitch noise. And then I can play it. Then I can do various things with it. And then, step by step, I go to these bubbles, and then I go to these full rods of full music notations. We also can preload certain musics. So inside these, I can preload certain things here I can save into my presentation as well. There is a lot of self-helping material. So when you start the application, there is bubbles which tells you the most important things in the screen. So there is a lot of built-in material which helps the user to self-study how it should be used. There is also called hot points, in which the application not simply shows the main important icons on the screen, but also has a narrated description speaking in French how these certain functionalities have to be used. We also have a written manual called the Getting Started. The Getting Started manual is a readable format going through on all the major steps, major locations in the application to allow the teacher to learn how they can start using the application. On top of that, we're also suggesting, in case of a bigger deployment, to record some videos using the local textbooks by some local people in order to make video-based guides. Many of our partners doing the same in each countries and using the local language and so forth. So for example, Ukrainians has a lot of webinars, recorded videos on YouTube, which they use to teach the teachers how they can use these materials.
Okay.
I think for the first level, it's more than enough to start thinking about. And even if I would be able, I don't want to go into more details without hearing your feedback. So I think that this would be the point I would stop for this presentation.
Peter, thank you very much for the exciting presentation that you just did. And I'd like to know if we have any questions at this moment that we would like to ask Peter.
Do you see the Adama's questions? I send it to you.
Okay, hold on.
In the chat, I only see questions from Traore, but it was 30 minutes earlier.
Yeah.
But that question was how to adapt the platform to the content of the countries. I was reflecting on that by deploying local textbooks and aligning all the content to the pages of the textbooks. So if there is a certain country, for example, Burkina Faso has their own textbooks, which the teacher using now. Those textbooks can be imported into the system as a PDF. So let's take the textbooks of the country, the textbooks which Burkina Faso using today. They have the PDF because that's what they print. That PDF can be uploaded to our system. In this case, you will see exactly the same pages of the local textbook. Then a local team could be set up to finding the relevant content in our library and placing the icons on the pages, and creating exercises, activities with the built-in tools, and then placing into the pages. Then the application will push all these added value to all the end users, so it will be available on web, classroom, and tablet. And then in that case, we also can set up a local server inside the country, allowing the country to host the content with domestic bandwidth, and everything can be deployed on its own. If the country already has a platform, which platform they want to keep, we also can combine with single sign-on. Of course, we have to investigate the actual platform they have and how it can be interconnected. But for example, those major login providers like Google or Office 365 login is working out of the box. Now we also have Teams integration. So if a country has their own platform and students and teachers able to log in, we also can find a way to interconnecting using the same credentials. If the country already has a platform which has some content, but the platform is not powerful enough, we also can provide a solution that putting all existing content into our platform and replacing it. It has to be decided based on a case-to-case basis, depending on what they have and what they want to achieve. And on that, we can provide our specific suggestion for the specific circumstances.
Peter, can you go back to the book and show how you touch the text, and the text comes directly it makes it big, you know, when you go have the squares.
So when I'm holding the presentation, here is the book. If I click on a certain paragraph, it shows me a bigger picture. It's true also for when I'm using an Android. It's also when I'm using the teacher tool. Then I can go and I also can use different drawing materials like highlighter to show certain keywords. I also can save it back to the book. I also can do the same directly on the book page and then opening it up. Then when I'm creating an exercise, I also can reuse certain sections of the book. So let's say I want to create a single choice exercise with an image, and I see a nice image in the book. I just simply drag and drop. So I capture the image from the book here, and I just drag and drop inside. And then I can just simply put the possible answers, and I can tell the system what is the answer, and I just simply created an exercise. When the exercise is created, I use the pin, and I pin back to the book as a small icon. So it's created a new button, which I can place to the location where it is relevant. And this icon will be provided for the other users through the platform we call Mozabook Editor. So a central team who is locally working can able to create the content directly. There was another question in the group chat that would you be able to carry out field visits to analyze local solutions? Basically, during these circumstances where all the travels is forbidden, no. But for these analyzing other systems, we also can do with the similar meetings like this. So you send me which system you have, you send us some description of it or a simple login, and we can check remotely.
But it's very important to understand that because we are an education company, we know how to transmit the information through the electronic ways, you know, like we're doing right now. For example, we just had a class, you know, and Peter presented the class and where the students, and it's the same way how the teacher and the students will be interacting. Therefore, with all these problems, we're able to go in, train remotely using these tools, you know, very effectively.
Ricardo, we have another question from Charlie.
Okay.
You can see?
Okay. Very clear. Es la última, ¿verdad? La que dice si podemos ir al país, ¿no?
Sí, sí, podemos ir, es posible para ir al país para analizar las soluciones locales.
Por supuesto.
Yes, that's what, I just Google translated. Would you be able to carry out field visits to analyze local solutions? And this is what I was answering in the last minute.
We said that with this problem, we cannot move. There are no slides, but we're able to work, you know, very efficiently with these tools that we have. Okay, and for them to provide what they have, we analyze and we talk through this type of things, you know. Plus, right now, the biggest pressure is getting the system to work so that we can have the kids, you know, keep learning in their home, you know, like if they're in class.
Okay.
Any other question?
Steve? Steve?
Yes, I catch you.
Yeah. Do you have some questions?
Not for the moment. It's on the licenses. Just a little question, how it works.
So
Okay, on the license.
Peter, Ricardo,
Okay, on the
yes.
license, you know, what we
Pas de questions pour moi. Sorry pour la connexion qui n'est pas bonne. Voilà.
Okay. Nana said no questions right now.
Okay,
They have
okay,
a question with the connections, but no questions for now.
okay, okay. On the licenses, we will see what the program is. You know, how many students, how many teachers, and then we sit down and we analyze and we make a proposal based on the amount of licenses that are required. You know, we have a system to do that, and it's just, but if you give us the information, we're able to get back with the right information.
Steve, are you?
Thank you, thank you.
I remember. Ricardo?
Yes.
Yes, Steve is the professor in Inilu. Inilu is the university in Lubumbashi. Now she's
Okay.
staying, yes, in DRC Lubumbashi.
Okay.
So, and Traore, you know Traore, he's working with UNICEF education sector.
Okay.
Yes. And Madame herself, every business woman want to know how to do the education online, right? We are doing now. And yeah. Steve, do you have some guests? I don't know. Oh, because I see Kabwe.
Yes, I had some guests, but I couldn't contact enough in time to make them here. So I think next time, on the next session, I will join.
Okay, so that you all know, we have recorded this session, and we're going to share it with all of you so that you can review it and share it with your people. Okay, and any questions that will arise from this, you know, you give it to Roland and he will forward to us.
Thank you very much. I'll wait for the link to share the sessions.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, if we don't have any more questions, you know, I really like to thank Peter for this fantastic presentation.